Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Strong Stoic Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Tumblin. And if you haven't noticed, I've been doing a bit of an informal series on virtues and vices. And I did an episode on, the cardinal virtues, on anger, on sloth. And I probably have a few more to do in the future. So there's probably more to come. But I thought it would be a good time to scare you a little bit. And what I mean is that life has a way of just flying by. And before you know it, you're in a new place that you never would have thought you'd be. Now, that can work for or against you. I mean, clearly there's some places that you would rather be. Other places, well, perhaps you would not rather be. But how exactly does this happen? How do we wake up one day and look around and realize that, oh shit, we're still on this damn train? Before I get into the topic, I have a big announcement. The first time I'm making this announcement. And this is the announcement. This podcast is now part of the Walled Garden Podcast Network, which is a curation of podcasts by contributors of the Walled Garden Philosophical Society, which I was recently invited to join. This is big news. This is really big news. I've been working on this for months with some fellow philosophers. If you haven't already heard of it, the Walled Garden Philosophical Society is a global community of philosophers and seekers who are coming together to pursue truth, wisdom, virtue, and the divine wherever they are to be found. I mean, it's essentially my mission, but I'm joining a bunch of other people with the same mission. And I've actually been invited to be a founding member of that community as a director, a contributor, a mentor, and a philosopher because, well, I truly believe in their mission. I really do. That's what this podcast is about. And the biggest reason I got involved is because the people that are getting involved, the people that I am joining, I have a lot of love and respect and appreciation for. Some of those people have already been a guest on this podcast. Others will be very soon. So I'm very excited to join the Walled Garden. And if you'd like to find out more, I'd encourage you to visit thewalledgarden.com, where you'll find more information about the mission, the values of the organization, all the podcasts, the calendar, which illustrates all the upcoming events, including a meetup that I will personally be doing soon. And it would also be a tiered subscription service as well. So you get to join some really like-minded people and have some access to exclusive content. So it's very, very exciting. Please go check that out. Now, also, a quick thanks to my Patreon supporters. Thank you very much. Check me out there at Brandon Tumblin if you're interested. Also, join the Telegram group chat, and also check out my articles on Medium and thestoicgym.com. Now, let's talk about the need for structure and order. The Taoists believed that life is divided between chaos and order. I used to speak about this quite a bit. I think last year I spoke about Taoism quite a bit. But when they, you hear a word like chaos and you get a little scared. Like, what do you mean by chaos? Is there going to be complete anarchy? There's going to be buildings burning down? There's going to be riots in the streets? No. It's not like that. It's more like the vast unknown. Something like that. You can imagine how much unknown there is in the world. I mean, even the scientific endeavor holds this to be true. So much we don't know in science. You could say that chaos is the feminine energy. It's creativity. It's openness. And it's the great unknown. And then there's the other half, order. Order is structure, right? It's the known. It's the masculine. And so the Taoists believe that we can divide life into that which we know, order, and that which we do not know, chaos. And meaning is found by balancing these two, chaos and order. That is, if you have too much order in your life, there's no excitement. There's no fun. There's no challenge. If you go to work every day and you know exactly what you have to do and exactly how to do it, you're never being challenged, you're going to get bored with that eventually. Now, too much chaos, on the other hand, too much chaos will drown you, literally. Chaos is often represented as the ocean, so I'm using that term very specifically, very appropriately. If you've never been employed before, for example, and you start as a CEO of a company, well, there's just way too much unknown. There's too much chaos. You won't be able to handle it. So you need enough order to ensure your survivability, but enough chaos to keep you engaged and interested. And the point is, we all need some order, some structure, some known in our lives. Now, what does that order practically look like? Well, practically, you're looking at something like a regular sleep schedule, which regulates your hormones, and your hormones regulate your mood. So that's very important. You're likely looking at a morning routine that starts your day off right. Maybe you start with a bit of reading, get up at the same time every morning. You probably want to have a stable job with at least somewhat steady standards, steady pay, a steady schedule. You want some guidelines for, what kind of meals you want to cook and what kind of food that you enjoy to eat and that sort of thing. You need a regular exercise schedule to keep you healthy. Probably some stable relationships wouldn't hurt, at the very least with your immediate family, but probably some friends. Maybe if you have a partner, you're very lucky. You have a good relationship with your partner. Maybe some work colleagues. Now, there's a lot there, right? I just listed off a bunch of things. But what makes up all of those things? Like, what's the glue that holds all of that together? Or what's the essence of that? And it's habits. It's habits. Going to bed at the same time every night. Going to the gym 5 days a week. Reading every morning. Those are habits that you can develop over time. And this is where order connects with virtues and vices that we've spoken so much about. I mentioned in other episodes that what a virtue or a vice actually is a habit. That is, it's what you practice and do every day, or at least regularly. For example, if you make it a habit to be kind to the people that serve your coffee in the morning, you say good morning to them and you give them a warm smile, and you do that every day for a month, well, that's going to become a habit, and it's actually a virtuous habit. Why? Because you're showing kindness. Now, if you do that every day, eventually you'll do it and you won't even think about it. You'll just say good morning, you'll give them a warm smile, and you'll get on with your day. So that's a habit that can work for you. But habits can also work against you. You could also make it a habit of complaining how hot the coffee cup is every time they hand it to you. You ever see these people in the coffee shop? It's like every time someone gives them a coffee, they're like, oh God, that coffee's so hot. Now that's a vicious habit because it's unkind. And it's complaining about something that you know damn well is going to happen, right? Of course, it's coffee. It's going to be hot. But if you do it enough times, eventually you'll do it and you won't even think about it. You won't think it's a big deal. Now, the research on habits is very clear. You can't eliminate a habit. You have to replace it with something else. So to use that same example, if you have a habit of complaining about the coffee cup's temperature, it's very difficult to stop a reaction altogether. It's very difficult to grab the coffee and then just keep your mouth shut and then just turn around and leave. No. You have this habit ingrained into your mind. It's like a roadway, and something has to fill that. So you could consciously replace that habit with saying thank you instead. And eventually the deeply ingrained circuits in your brain will take over, and it will replace the habit of being a complaining person to being someone who is grateful, that says thank you. Now here's the best analogy that I found when it comes to habits. And habits it's like being on a train. Now allow me to develop this metaphor. A train transports things, right? And people. It's very decided on where it's going. The train tracks themselves will take you somewhere. But different trains go to different places, right? We all know this. You get to decide which train you hop on. But here's the problem with trains. It's not like a car. When you get on a train, you can't just get off whenever you want. No. What happens is the wheels keep turning around. The engines, they never slow down. I know that was a rhyme. I took that from a song called That Train by Doc Walker. I was not going to say that, but it's too corny not to say. Now, sure, there are stops along the way, right? There's stops at different train stations. And in other words, there are places where you can reevaluate where you are and where you want to go. But sometimes if you stay on that train for too long, it can take you to a very different place, and it can take you a very long time to get back to where you actually wanted to go in the first place. So the point is, you have to be very careful which train you get on. In other words, you have to be very careful which habits you adopt, because once you form a habit, it's going to take off on its own, just like that train. Now here's the other side, and it's really quite beautiful. If you form good habits, if you get on the right train, it's also going to take off on its own. The wheels will spin, and the engines will never slow down. And that is a very encouraging thought, because it means once you form a good habit, brushing your teeth every morning, brushing your teeth at night, you're just going to do it, and you won't think about it. And so that can lead you to something beautiful. As a last little thought experiment here, I want to open the perspective on just how broad this idea is. So we're going to get into some practical applications here. First of all, let's talk about one of the things that we mentioned earlier, which is your sleep schedule. If you get into the habit of going to bed at the same time every day, you will start to feel tired at that time. It's kind of a crazy thing if you think about it. All you have to do is go to bed at the same time every day, even if you don't fall asleep right away. Just go to bed at the same time every day. And eventually, it might take 3 weeks, it might take a month or 2 months, but eventually, once that time starts rolling around, you're going to get really tired. And then what happens? Well, really what's happening is your hormones are starting to be regulated. You're starting to put your hormones on a schedule. And guess what? Your mood is affected by your hormones, so your mood is also regulated. If you have a morning routine where you get up on time every morning, you read a little bit, you don't check your phone right away, you get ready for work, well, that's a good habit. But let's talk about a bad habit. Well, what if you get into a bad relationship with someone and you play it off as okay? It's okay. In other words, you form the habit of not telling your partner about things that bother you, or ignoring the obvious when they get abusive, which is terrible, of course. Well, now you have a terrible habit. And those train wheels, they're going to keep spinning, and the engines aren't going to slow down. And eventually, in 5 years, in 10 years, or in even 40 years, you're going to wake up and you're going to realize that you've been on the wrong train for far too long. It's going to be tough for you to turn yourself around. Now, I want to say this in the most compassionate way possible, because I really feel for you if you're in this situation. If you find yourself in a bad place in life right now, you don't like the train that you're on, you need to make a conscious effort to get off that train. You need to make a conscious effort to reevaluate where you are, what your habits are, the situation you are in, and make a step, any step, the smallest step, in the direction of getting on a different train. And you do that by one little habit, one little step, one little virtue at a time. Never forget, and this is a scary thought, the train is going to keep on going. Like, all you have to do, if you want a terrible life, all you have to do is nothing. Because eventually your bad habits, your bad tendencies, the worst side of yourselves are going to manifest themselves. You have to sprint in place in life to stay at the same place. That's why it's so easy to find yourself in such a situation where you wake up and you've been on this train, you're in a completely new place and you don't like it. But here's some hope. Because the other side of that is that if you get on the right train, well, you just need time and patience. And eventually you'll arrive at someplace beautiful. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're new here, there's episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. Consider leaving a rating and review. Check out thewallgarden.com. Check out my Instagram, The Strong Stoic, on Twitter. Reach out to me. Join the Telegram. Thank you so much. Cheers. Until next time.